Footwork toes, arches, and heels. These are introductory exercises and we perform 10 repetitions. The goals of these exercises are to improve leg alignment, build stamina, and strengthen the muscles around the knees. This is a good choice of exercise for students who spend a long time sitting during the day, have trouble stabilizing their spine during leg movements, and have poor leg tracking. The exercise setup on the low chair is one top and one bottom spring. To set the exercise up, the student will sit as far to the front of the chair as they can and place their feet on the pedal in Pilates stance. As in the reformer, we make sure that all 5 toes are on the pedal and the weight is evenly distributed across the ball of the foot. The knees are no wider than the shoulders and the spine is lifted in and up from the abdominals. The execution for this exercise begins at the seat. The gross movement pattern is the pedal being pressed down without the pelvis moving before returning up again without the pelvis moving. So the pedal will be pressed down only as far as the student can keep their pelvis still and pulled up only as far as the student is flexible enough to keep their pelvis still. The only thing moving here is the hip. The legs will move with the pedal and the rest of the torso will remain completely still. Precision points to bear in mind are the perch is active, so the glutes are pulled together, sitting up out of the hips with the waist lifted and the spine long. The pedal is pressed down evenly through both legs. One leg shouldn't be leading the other. Both legs are doing the same amount of work. And as the pedal is being pumped, the knees are going to stay constant, so not widening and not narrowing. Common errors here are to allow the pelvis to rock. So as the pedal is being pressed down, the pelvis may tip forward or back, and then the same on the way up. Usually, however, your students tend to sit incorrectly is what we'll see here. So the pelvis should remain completely still. We frequently will also see students collapsing backwards into poor posture, or if they're tighter, they will sit in this collapsed position while they try and pump the pedal. So they need to remain lifted upright. Lastly, we'll see imbalances through the weight distribution in the legs, either too much weight on the inside of the foot lifting the pinky toe, or too much weight onto the outside of the foot causing the inside of the thigh to lift. This is going to affect the alignment of the entire leg. So make sure that the hips, the knees, and the ankles stay lined up and steady. The rhythm for this exercise is brisk and lively. Press and lift, and lift, and lift. We slightly accent the upward portion of this exercise because it's the powerhouse that actually lifts the pedal up. Let's look at this in real time. Sit onto the chair as far forward as you can with the balls of the feet on the pedal. Sitting up nice and tall, the hips and waist are lifted and the knees are no wider than the shoulders. Press down and lift the pedal up and lift. Abs pull in as you lift, lifting up and growing taller, up, up, and pause it at the top. The arches exercise brings the arches onto the pedal as in footwork with the knees held firmly together. So just as you would align the legs on the reformer, we'll align the legs here for arches and perform another 10 repetitions, keeping the knees held together the entire time. Press and lifting up through the waist, lifting up through the hips. Pull the glutes together as you pump the pedal, lifting higher and hold at the top for heels. Shift your heels onto the pedal, pulling the toes back to the face and keeping the knees and the ankles and toes glued together. Press the pedal down and lift up to get taller. Lift and get taller. Abs stay in as you pump and hold it at the top. Good places to touch here would be to help stabilize your student holding onto their pelvis behind their body. So you would anchor their hips as they pump the pedal here to help with rocking. You could also hold a short box pole up along their spine, mimicking the backboard from the high chair so they can feel if their spine is moving away from the chair. A moving into touch can be nice at the top of the head to help your students lift tall, or a palm on their mid-back to give them a moving into touch so they know how to draw their abs in and up, staying lengthened and long. Signs of readiness for this exercise would be pumping on the high chair. If your student is proficient with all the pumpings, you may move them to the low chair for the footwork series. Traditionally, pumping is performed on the high chair, and the footwork series is reserved for the low chair. Building blocks for this exercise would include the hands starting in the downward position or even bringing them around behind the chair. This is a nice choice for students who may be a little bit larger, need to sit farther back on the chair, allowing a little extra room for their bodies. To advance this exercise, the students can cross their arms in front of the chest, pressing actively against the upper arms to pump here. This is harder because we're not holding onto the chair and therefore less stable. And then finally, students will bring their hands together behind their head, lifting the back of their skull into their palms, lengthening that lever, and making this exercise even more challenging.